I died choking on my own blood in a snow-choked alley behind a Chicago dive bar, the kind of place where dreams go to rot and nobody asks questions. My stepfather's boot was the last thing I saw, cracking against my ribs one final time before the world went black, his voice echoing like a bad country song. "You're nothing but a worthless bitch, Vivian. Rot out here." But death wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button, spitting me back into my 17-year-old body on the morning of the day they shattered everything, my heart pounding with the fury of 2 lifetimes. This time, I wouldn't beg for mercy. I'd burn their world down from the inside, one calculated lie at a time. The alarm clock buzzed like a hornet in my skull, yanking me from the void. I bolted upright in my narrow twin bed, the faded pink comforter tangled around my legs, the room spinning like I'd chugged a fifth of cheap vodka. But I hadn't. Not yet. This wasn't the Stain Motel mattress in some podunk Indiana town where I'd ended up after they tossed me out like yesterday's trash. No, this was my old bedroom in the split-level house on the outskirts of Naperville, Illinois, the one with the peeling wallpaper and the crucifix hanging crooked over the door, a joke of a guardian angel. My hands, smaller, unscarred, nails bitten to the quick, clutched the sheets as the memories crashed in, the alley, the boot, the wet crunch of bone. Then nothing. And now, this. I stumbled to the mirror above the dresser, heart jackhammering. Staring back was me at 17, Vivian Harper, all sharp cheekbones and wary green eyes under a mop of unruly auburn hair that Mom always nagged me to straighten. But those eyes, they held the weight of 32 years, the kind of haunted stare that comes from scraping by on minimum wage, dodging creeps in truck stops, and finally, stupidly, trusting a lowlife bartender who swore he loved me. He'd ratted me out to my stepdad for a quick $100, leading to that final beatdown. Family reunion. The bastard had laughed as he watched. God, the rage boiled up, hot and electric, making my fists clench until my knuckles whitened. They thought they could erase me? Mom with her crocodile tears and stepdad, Ron, the king of false charm, with his beer gut and his tough love bullshit. They didn't know I remembered every slap, every hurled insult, every night I'd curled up in the basement hiding from his fists. And the secret they'd buried deeper than my dignity, the money. Dad's life insurance payout, the one that should have been my ticket out, funneled into their gambling debts while they pinned his accident on me to the cops. Heart attack, my ass. I'd found the autopsy report years later, tucked in Ron's lockbox, poison, slow and untraceable, right after Dad signed over the policy. This was my second chance, and I wasn't wasting it on tears. No, I'd play their game better. Smile sweeter. Lie smoother. And when the house of cards toppled, I'd be the one holding the matches. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled like burnt toast and regret, the same as always. Mom, Linda, with her peroxide blonde bob and the laugh lines etched too deep from chain smoking, hovered over the stove, flipping eggs with a spatula like it was a weapon. Ron slouched at the Formica table, nursing his black coffee, the morning paper spread out like a shield. He was in his early 40s then, still clinging to that high school quarterback build, but the paunch was starting to show, a harbinger of the slob he'd become. "Morning, sleepyhead," Mom chirped, her voice syrupy, like nothing had ever gone sour between us. She slid a plate across the counter, scrambled eggs, slightly rubbery, with a side of that fake optimism she peddled to bridge club ladies. "Big day at school. Don't forget, Ron's picking you up after cheer practice." Cheer practice. Right. The one activity they'd forced on me to toughen up after Dad died, turning me into their little show pony while they drained the bank account. I forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes, and sat down, fork scraping the plate. "Thanks, Mom. Smells great." Inside, I cataloged the exits, back door to the yard, front hall to the street. In my first life, I'd bolted from here with nothing but a backpack and the $3 in change from the couch cushions. This time, I'd build an arsenal. Ron grunted, not looking up from the sports section. "Yeah, and keep your grades up, Viv. College ain't free." Hypocrite. The man who'd accidentally spiked Dad's whiskey with antifreeze to cash in early. I'd pieced it together too late last time, after hitchhiking my way to a public library in Milwaukee and sweet-talking a clerk for access to old records.
But now?
I knew the dates, the dosages, the lies they'd fed the coroner. Heart condition. Mom had sobbed at the funeral, clutching my hand while Ron pocketed the check. School was a blur of fluorescent lights and locker slams, the same hellish limbo as before. Elmwood High, with its cookie-cutter cliques and teachers who droned like they were reading from a script. I spotted Sarah Jenkins in the hall, her ponytail swinging like a metronome, my so-called best friend, who'd ghosted me the second I hit the streets, too scared of the gossip. In this timeline, I'd keep her close. Not for friendship, but for intel. She was Ron's niece's kid, after all, with ears in every family ear. By lunch, I was in the library, huddled over a terminal that hummed like an asthmatic beast. No smartphones yet, not for me anyway. Mom doled out the family flip phone like it was gold.
But the internet was my lifeline.
I searched property records first. Our house on Oakwood Lane, mortgaged to the hilt, Dad's name scrubbed off after his death. Then the insurance claim, public record if you knew where to dig. There it was, $250,000 payout, beneficiary listed as Linda Harper and Ronald Baxter, jointly. Baxter. Ron's real name, the one he hid under Harper to Playhouse. A quick cross-reference to the County Talk screen archive. Bingo. Elevated ethylene glycol levels dismissed as incidental exposure from garage antifreeze. Bullshit. I'd make sure it stuck this time. The bell rang, but I lingered, scribbling notes on a napkin. Step 1. Document everything. Step 2. Build allies. Step 3. Expose without exploding too soon. Revenge wasn't a sprint. It was a marathon with landmines. Cheer practice after school was where it started unraveling last time. Coach Harlan, with his wandering eyes and motivational slaps on the ass, had cornered me in the locker room, whispering about extra credit if I played nice. I'd frozen, then run. Straight into Ron's waiting truck, where he'd smelled the fear on me and twisted it into whorish behavior. This time I didn't run. I reported it. Quietly, to the guidance counselor, Mrs. Patel, a no-nonsense Indian woman who'd always slipped me extra hall passes when Mom was on a bender. "It's not right, Mrs. P," I said, voice steady, eyes locked on hers. "He touches us.
Grabs.
Says things." I named names. Mine. 2 others I'd overheard whispering in the showers. No hysterics, just facts. Her pen scratched furiously, and by the end of the week, Harlan was on administrative leave. The school buzzed, but I kept my head down, the innocent daughter caught in the crossfire. Ron picked me up as promised, his F-150 rumbling like his temper. "Heard about the coach. You stirrin' shit, Viv?" His eyes flicked in the rear view, suspicious. I met his gaze in the mirror, all wide-eyed teen.
Me?
"No way, Dad. Just told the truth. Girls gotta stick together, right?" The word Dad stuck in my throat like gravel, but it landed soft, disarming. He grunted, turning up the Rush Limbaugh rerun on the radio, ranting about feminazis ruining sports. Mom would love that, her hero, fighting the good fight. Dinner that night was meatloaf and tension, the kind that simmered under forced small talk. Mom prattled about her shift at the diner, how the tip jar was light again. "We could use a little luck, you know? Like after your father." She trailed off, dabbing her eyes with a napkin. Ron shoveled food, then paused. "Speaking of, Viv, we need to talk about your future. College is expensive. Might be time to think part-time job. Contribute." There was the setup. In my first life, this led to the fight. Me snapping about Dad's money, them exploding, the slaps, the eviction with $3 for the bus. This time I nodded. "Sure, Ron. I get it. Bills suck." I even offered to babysit the neighbor's kid on weekends. They exchanged glances, relieved. Hook, line, sinker. But nights were for plotting. In the dim glow of my desk lamp, I sketched timelines on notebook paper. Dad's death date, March 15th, 2003. The insurance deposit, April 2nd. Ron's sudden business trip to Atlantic City the week after. I'd start small, anonymous tips to the insurance fraud hotline, disguised as a concerned relative. Then, dig into Ron's side gigs, the construction union he'd bragged about, ripe for embezzlement rumors. Weeks blurred into a fragile normalcy. I aced midterms, volunteered at the animal shelter for community service hours, and charmed Sarah into spilling family dirt. Turns out, Ron had a temper that followed him from job to job, fired twice for altercations, once involving a shovel and a co-worker's kneecap. Mom? She'd been skimming from the diner till for years, small enough to fly under radar, but enough to fund her Valium habit. The first crack came on a rainy Friday, 2 months in. I came home from school to find Mom pacing the living room, cigarette trembling in her fingers. Vivian Marie Harper. What the hell is this? She thrust a letter at me, creased and official, from the Illinois Department of Insurance. Investigation pending on policy 47892. Fraudulent claims suspected. My stomach flipped, but I played dumb. What? Mom, I don't. Save it. Ron stormed in from the garage, reeking of motor oil and rage, the letter crumpling in his fist. Some busybody called the tip line, said they overheard us talking about the payout. You've been yapping to your little friends. The air thickened, electric with the storm outside, and the one brewing in his eyes. This was it, the pivot point. In my old life, I'd have crumbled, denied through tears.
Now?
I straightened, channeling every ounce of the woman I'd become. Broke, battered, unbreakable. Overheard? Like how you and Mom overheard Dad snoring too loud that night you poured the poison. The one the autopsy missed because you greased the coroner's palm with $100 and a 6-pack. The room froze. Mom's cigarette dropped, ash scattering like confetti from hell. Ron's face purpled, veins bulging. What did you say? I stepped closer, voice low and lethal. I said, I know. Ethylene glycol, Ron. Garage special. You killed him for the money, framed it as a heart attack, and when I started asking questions, you waited till I was grown to finish the job. But I'm back now, and this time you're done. He lunged, fist cocked like a hammer. I sidestepped. Years on the streets had taught me that, and he crashed into the coffee table, splintering wood and scattering remotes.
Mom screamed, Ron, no.
She's bluffing. Am I? I pulled a folded printout from my backpack, the tox report I'd emailed to myself from the library, annotated with timestamps. Call it a hunch, or call the cops. Your choice. Sirens wailed in the distance, the rain masking the thunder of my pulse. They'd come for Harlan that afternoon. I'd tipped off the principal anonymously about inappropriate conduct, but now? This was personal. Ron scrambled up, sputtering. You little. Touch me, I warned, and it's assault on a minor. With witnesses. Sarah was outside, waiting for our study session, her car idling in the driveway. I'd planned this. Every word, every angle. He deflated, chest heaving, as Mom sank to the couch, sobbing. Viv, honey, we can explain. It was an accident. Your dad.
He was sick.
We just helped. Lies. I spat. But go on. Practice for the trial. The cops arrived 20 minutes later, not for me, but for the domestic disturbance call I'd made from the bathroom rotary phone, casual as ordering pizza. My stepdad's violent, I'd whispered to the dispatcher. Hurry. They cuffed Ron after he swung again, Mom blubbering about family matters. I gave my statement coolly. The letter, the argument, the threats. No mention of Dad, not yet. That bomb I'd saved for the DA. As they hauled him away, his eyes locked on mine. Pure venom. This ain't over, girl. Blood's thicker than blood. I laughed, bitter and sharp. You spilled enough of that. The house emptied, just me and Mom in the wreckage. She reached for me, tentative. Vivian, please. We're all we got. I shrugged off her hand. We never were. That night, alone in the silence, I poured myself a glass of Dad's old scotch from the cabinet, smooth, forbidden. To second chances. To the girl who'd survived. But as the burns settled in my chest, doubt crept in. Was this justice, or just trading one poison for another? Ron's trial loomed, Mom's lies unraveling. I'd won the first round. But revenge? It had teeth, and they were sinking deep. Months dragged like a hangover, the kind that starts in your gut and radiates to your soul. Ron sat in Cook County Jail awaiting arraignment, his bail revoked after a key witness, me, testifying via video link from a safe house, detailed his history of disciplinary actions at home. The bruises I'd hidden under long sleeves in my first life? Now they were photographs, time-stamped, emailed to Child Protective Services before I even unpacked my reborn backpack. CPS swooped in like vultures, assigning me a social worker named Carla, tough as nails Latina with a no bullshit bob and a file folder thicker than the Bible. "You're a fighter, Vivian," she'd said over lukewarm coffee at the diner. Not Mom's, thank God. This one was neutral ground, fluorescent hum and all. But fighting dirty? That's how you end up like them. She meant Ron and Mom, rotting in their respective hells. Mom hadn't been arrested yet, just cooperating with authorities from a motel on Route 59, her bridge club abandoned, her shifts covered by pitying co-workers. I'd seen her once, through the reinforced glass at the station, hollow-eyed, makeup caked like war paint, begging, "Let me explain, baby. It was for us. For the family." Family. The word tasted like antifreeze. I'd hung up the phone without a word, the click echoing like a guillotine. School became my fortress. Elmwood High, with its squeaky clean facade hiding the rot, Harlan's scandal had blown wide open, 3 girls coming forward after mine. The principal called an assembly, all platitudes about safe spaces and reporting without fear. I sat in the bleachers, arms crossed, watching the fallout. Sarah sidled up afterward, whispering, "You started this, didn't you? Kinda badass." I shrugged. Truth's a bitch. We weren't friends, not really, more like co-conspirators in the war against whispers. She fed me scraps. Uncle Ron's union buddies circling wagons, hinting at character assassination defenses. Mom's Valium prescriptions spiking, courtesy of a shady doc in Aurora. But the real war was internal. Nights in the foster placement, a tidy ranch house in Wheaton with the Millers, a childless couple in their 50s who baked apple pies and asked 0 questions. I'd wake sweating, the alley's cold seeping into my bones. Death's echo, mocking me. Was I any better? Poisoning their lives with tips and tapes, recording every call with a cheap digital recorder from Radio Shack. I'd sent the audio to the DA, Ron's drunken rants about culling the weak, Mom's slurred confessions over wine about easing his suffering. Circumstantial, but damning. The controversy hit the local news like a freight train. Channel 5 ran a segment. Naperville Nightmare. Stepdad accused in teen abuse. Insurance fraud probe deepens. Grainy file footage of our house. Yellow tape fluttering. Pundits weighed in. Fox affiliate screaming. Welfare witch hunt. NPR clone murmuring about systemic failures in blended families. Online forums lit up. Reddit's r/true crime thread. Did Naperville mom help kill hubby for cash? Daughter's revenge or delusion? Comments ranged from "girl's a hero, justice for Viv" to "she's lying for attention." Classic daddy issues. I read them all. Anonymous from the Millers' dial-up, rage simmering. They didn't know the half. The way Ron's discipline had left me flinching at raised voices, or how Mom's neglect had carved hollows in my chest deeper than any bruise. But exposure? It was a double-edged sword. Reporters sniffed around school, a perky blonde shoving a mic in my face after gym. "Vivian, how does it feel to turn on your own family?" I stared her down, camera whirring. "Feels like breathing."
Try it sometime.
Carla pulled strings to get me a lawyer pro bono, some ACLU type named Ellis, sharp suit and sharper tongue. "You're building a case, kid, but remember, vengeance is a meal best served cold. Hot, and you burn your own mouth."
He was right.
I'd almost slipped once, mailing an anonymous letter to Ron's union rep with evidence of skimming, forged receipts I'd mocked up on the library printer. But Ellis intercepted it. "Let the law do the dirty work. You're 17, not Scarface." Arraignment day arrived under a slate-gray sky, the courthouse a squat brick beast downtown. I rode with Carla, gut churning. Mom was there, perched in the gallery like a ghost, her bob limp, eyes red-rimmed. She spotted me, mouth opening in a silent plea. I turned away, focusing on the judge, a stern woman with silver streaks, reading charges like a grocery list: assault, endangerment, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. Ron shuffled in, orange jumpsuit clashing with his pallor, shackles clinking. He scanned the room, locking on me. No remorse, just a smirk, like this was all a bad joke. "Love you too, princess," he mouthed. The plea? Not guilty, of course. Bail denied. Mom burst into tears as they let him out, but I felt nothing. Or everything. The high wore off in the hallway, where a cluster of reporters ambushed us. "Vivian, sources say your testimony could bury him. Willing to go public?" Ellis stepped in, but I paused.
Yeah.
Bury him?
Nah.
Unearth the truth. That's enough. Back at the Millers, I cracked open Dad's old photo album, salvaged from evidence lockup, courtesy of Carla. There he was, broad-shouldered, laughing, arm around a younger mom at a Cubs game. Me as a toddler, gap-toothed and giggling. What if I'd saved him? Warned him that morning in '03, before the coffee? But timelines twisted like smoke. I was here now, not then. A letter arrived a week later. Mom's handwriting, shaky on motel stationery. "Vivi, I did it for love. Ron was in debt, sharks from the casino. Your dad. He was suffering. Migraines, blackouts. We thought mercy. Please forgive. Blood calls to blood." I burned it in the sink, watching flames lick the lies. Mercy? That's what they'd denied me. The twist came mid-trial, 3 months in, a sweltering July that turned the courtroom into a sweatbox. The prosecution called their star witness, Dr. Elias, the coroner who'd signed off on Dad's death certificate. Grizzled, retired, he fidgeted under oath, sweat beading on his brow. "Dr. Elias," the DA pressed, "you noted incidental antifreeze exposure. But recent reanalysis shows lethal levels. Why the discrepancy?" Elias cleared his throat, glancing at Ron. "I received a call. Said the family was unstable, daughter had mental issues, prone to hysterics. Suggested natural causes to avoid scandal." The gallery gasped. My blood ran cold. Mental issues? That was Mom's line, whispered to shrinks when I acted out after Dad died, pills prescribed to calm the wild one. And the payment. DA slid a check across, $150, dated April 5th, 2003, to Elias, from a shell account traced to Ron's poker buddy. Elias deflated. A consulting fee.
4.
Expedited services. Objection. Sustained. But the damage was done. Jurors whispered, eyes flicking to me. The wild daughter, now the avenging ghost. Ron exploded on the stand next day, pounding the rail. "She's poisoning you all. That bitch set me up. Hacked my files, spread lies." Spittle flew, judge banging gavel like a war drum. I testified last, voice steady as steel. "He beat me. She watched. They killed my father for 250 grand and called it love. I have tapes, records, witnesses. Believe who you want. But truth? It doesn't lie." Closing arguments were fireworks. DA painting Ron as a monster, defense screaming, teen vendetta. The controversy peaked. National pickup on HLN, Nancy Grace crowing. Is this suburban America's Othello, or a daughter's deranged payback? Deliberations stretched 2 days. I holed up at the Millers, chain-watching infomercials, Carla force-feeding me takeout. Verdict read at 4 p.m. Guilty. All counts. Life, no parole. Mom fled to Indiana, facing her own indictment, accessory after the fact. Extradited kicking and screaming. Outside, rain slicked the steps. Reporters swarmed, but I pushed through, Ellis at my side. "What now, Vivian?"
Now.
I breathed free air. First time in years. I live. But as flashbulbs popped, a shadow detached from the crowd, Sarah, holding an envelope. From Aunt Linda. Before they nabbed her. Inside, a key. To a safety deposit box in Joliet. For you, if forgiveness comes. Our real insurance. I didn't open it. Not then. Revenge tasted sweet, but hollow, like winning a war and finding your home in ruins. Autumn painted Naperville in fire, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones, the air crisp with the promise of endings. Trial dust settled, headlines faded to footnotes, but I carried the weight like a second skin. 18 now, emancipated by judge's decree, I traded the Miller's guest room for a studio apartment above a laundromat in Berwyn. Cheap rent, thin walls thumping with neighbors' lives. Ellis helped with scholarships. Elmwood's valedictorian nod, I'd crammed like a demon. Unlocked community college, pre-law track. Full circle, he joked at graduation, handing me the diploma. I laughed, but inside?
It was a vow.
Mom's trial was a sideshow. Guilty plea, 10 years at Dwight Correctional, minimum security for cooperative defendants. She wrote monthly, flowery apologies laced with guilt trips. Ron manipulated me, Viv. Like he tried with you. Find it in your heart. I'd file them unread, but kept the key. It nagged, a loose thread in my tapestry of triumph.
Ron?
He rotted in Menard, appeals bouncing like bad checks. Rumors filtered through Sarah, now a tentative ally, interning at the prosecutor's office for extra credit. He's raging, Viv. Says you're Satan's spawn. But the guards? They know. Extra cavity searches, just to twist the knife. Good. Let him feel buried alive. Life rebuilt in fragments. Classes at College of DuPage. Torts and ethics, dissecting cases that mirrored mine. Mens rea, the guilty mind. I dated tentatively, a barista named Jake, all tattoos and easy grins, who never asked about scars. You're fierce, he'd murmur after, tracing my ribs.
Fierce.
Yeah, but trust? That was a bridge half-burned. The controversy lingered online, a digital specter. r/the asshole threads debated. ATA for exposing my parents' murder? They deserved it, right? Votes split, vitriol flying. Trauma-bonded enablers versus calculated destroyer. I lurked, anonymous, the echo chamber amplifying doubts. Had I pushed too hard? That forged receipt I'd nearly sent, would it have crossed the line from justice to fabrication? Halloween night, 6 months post-verdict, the key burned a hole in my drawer. Jake was working late. I drove to Joliet alone, the safety deposit box a cold vault in First Midwest Bank. The teller, bored and bespectacled, slid it out. 12 by 6 inches of steel secrets. Inside, not cash but papers. Dad's will, and signed, dated a week before death. To Vivian Harper, sole beneficiary, full estate, including life insurance proceeds, upon my majority. A letter in a scrawl. Kiddo, if you're reading this, things went south. Trust no one. Especially not the snake in sheep's clothing. Love, Dad. And photos, grainy Polaroids of Ron in the garage, pouring from an antifreeze jug into a flask. Time-stamped March 14th, 2003. Evidence. The real kind. Tears hit then, hot and unbidden. Dad knew. He'd suspected, planned to confront, but they struck first. The twist gutted me. All my digging, my tapes, it was child's play next to this. He'd trusted me to unearth it, even in death. But the final gut punch, a cassette tape, labeled Confession. I played it in the car. Engine idling in the lot, rain streaking the windshield like tears. Mom's voice, tinny and trembling. Ron, I can't. Vivian's asking questions. What if she finds out? Ron's growl, she won't. Kid's dumb as dirt. We split the cash, move on. Or, I handle her like I did him. Silence, then her whisper. Okay, but promise no more. They'd recorded themselves. Arrogance or insurance. Dad must have swiped it from their planning session, hidden it away. I drove home in a daze, tape clutched like a grenade. Call the DA? Reopen for Mom's appeal? No, this was mine. Private vindication. Sarah met me at a dive bar, off-eye, 55, neon buzzing Budweiser in the window.
Overgrisivings, ispilled.
Her eyes widened. Holy shit, Viv. This buries them deeper. Or frees me. I slid the tape across. Leak it. Anonymously. Let the world hear. She hesitated. Controversial much? Grace'll eat it up. Monster parents tape shocks nation. You'll be the villain again. Let them. I clinked her glass. I've got nothing left to lose. The leak hit like a bomb, CNN first, then viral. Audio scrubbed of identifiers. But the voices? Unmistakable.
Forum exploded. Proof.
Vivian vindicated. Protests outside the prison. Justice for Harper Sr., mom's appeal denied. Ron transferred to Supermax. Pundits flipped, Grace crowing. From victim to vigilante, America's daughter strikes back. Reporters camped my doorstep, but I stonewalled, focusing on finals. Jake proposed over pizza, ring from a pawn shop, sweet and simple. Build with me, fierce one? I said yes. Not for normalcy, but because second chances deserved staking claims. Christmas came soft, snow dusting the city like forgiveness. I visited Mom last time. Maybe. Dwight's visiting room. Plexiglass and regret. She looked smaller, grayer, clutching the phone like a lifeline. Vivian, you came.
Yeah. No honey, no hat.
Just truth. Dad left me something. He knew. Her face crumpled. I loved him. But Ron. He owned me. Debts, threats. It spiraled. Owned? You chose. I leaned close. The money's mine now, revest by court order. Estate's clear. She nodded, tears tracing. Use it well. For him. I will. Outside, air but crisp. No twist left, just release. Revenge? It'd stun them, sure.
But me?
It rebuilt. Years later, law degree in hand, I clerked for a federal judge, fighting for kids like Ghost Me. Jake and I in a brownstone. Baby on the way. Girl. Fierce eyes like mine. Mom passed quiet in 15, cancer. Ron in 18, shank in the yard. No tears. Just closure. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I whisper to the mirror. We made it, Dad. And the woman staring back? She's whole. Unbroken.
Alive.